Standard composting methods can really not compete to what we can accomplish with chickens in the chicken composting system. Just look at this stuff here. I'm doing a little bit of harvesting in the chicken composting system. You've probably seen a lot of my videos on this topic. I've never really done something where I show you how I actually use this. This is a lot more than compost. This is recharged soil. This is organic matter. Lots of microbes, some worm castings, pretty much everything good you can put in a garden is in this. So let me show you some changes I made to the chicken composting system. So this here is the entranceway. I've started putting all my materials in this section here. This section is now my finishing section. So all these larger materials here are going to come into this area. I'll come through here. I'll pile this up into big piles, let the chickens keep breaking it down, scratching it up. And once I'm done harvesting all of the old stuff that they've been going through for the past several months, I'll move this material over here. One change I did make in this area is I put a clear tarp on top of here. It was getting a little anaerobic inside here. So in order to harvest this, I really need it to be a little more dry. So let's harvest some of this compost. I'm going to go ahead, take this homemade 1/2-inch sifter, put it on here, and we're going to see what we can get. So I'll come through the finished section here, and I'll put about 2 or 3 scoops of the top layer, the drier stuff, on here. And then since this is kind of moist, I can't just shake it to sift it. So it is a labor of love here. I'm going to use my hands and just go through here and break it down. So this is where I can come through, and if I find any rocks or bigger bits that the chickens are going to take too long to break down, I can go ahead and take those out of here. And I put them in this bucket. I'll show you in a little bit what I do with all that stuff. And then any bones I find, I put them in a separate bin because I'm going to do something else with those. There is a lot of different material in my chicken composting system. Basically everything that you'd put in your regular compost, you throw in here. You throw food scraps in here. Feeds the chickens, attracts worms, feeds the chickens even more. The worms leave castings, lots and lots of leaves, straw, grass clippings. And what we're left with is some materials like this. We got a lot of leaves, some straw, some smaller wood chips, all stuff that the chickens are going to be able to break down. So what I do is I just take that, I throw it to the beginning side here so they can work it even more. So for the thicker stuff that's not going to break down as quick, I found a good way to use that. I'm making some new raised beds in my garden out of these logs here. I'm using this to fill the bottoms of it. It's not just a carbon fill going in here. It's full of some decent microbes from the chicken composting system. It's probably got some fungi started in it. You know, good stuff for your garden bed. And another thing I've been doing is just using it to mulch my walkways. As for the sifted material, this is what I do throughout the garden. You can see here, I have these borders. These are my planting areas. This has been filled already. What I do is I'll come through here, I'll put 1 inch of the chicken compost down and just smooth it out. As you can see here, I still have a lot of old plant material. I did a video in the fall how I leave everything here to rot and decompose. And this stuff is going to go right on top of it. That's going to shade this soil so the worms can come up and start working on this material, breaking it down into castings. A little bit goes a long way with this stuff, so I'm not worried if I miss a couple spots or don't put it on too thick. Eventually the rain's going to help level this out as well. Another thing I added to this year is biochar. There's a decent amount of biochar mixed in here. I put it in the chicken run so the chickens could charge it up before I put it in here so it doesn't trap or steal any microbes or nutrients from the plants. But we'll see how that works out. So all this started out as nasty clay, sand, rock, soil. Here's one of the beds that's been amended quite a bit. I can stick my hand down there as far as I want. And then we pull out all this nice fluffy soil. So there is no need to till this in. If you do a tilling system, you could do that, but just putting it on the surface is good enough because this stuff, the rain is going to take it down. All the creatures below the soil are going to put it to work. So yes, it is a little bit of work sifting this stuff out. The chickens do the rest of the work, but it's well worth it. And it's not something you have to do every year. You can come in here every 2 or 3 years if you wanted to and do this. I'm more or less doing it just so I can clear out part of the chicken composting system and continue with the process. Got a couple garlic beds here that are grown in pure sifted chicken compost. This has been sitting since the fall and now it's extra light and fluffy. And look at this, just look how happy this garlic is doing inside here. It's really nice because some people say that you shouldn't plant into pure compost, but it seems like the stuff that the chickens make is very good to plant straight into. And that is good because I'm going to be making some more raised beds over in the orchard area here to take advantage of some of that space. And I really don't want to have to buy soil. So that is just a brief rundown of what's going on with the chicken composting system, the upgrades, the harvest, how we're putting the chicken composting system to work in the garden this spring. Looks like the chickens are back over here to the finish section. Look how nice that looks in there. Good job, chickens. Ow. So they're going down there trying to find some worms to eat. Hopefully they don't eat them all because we gotta let some of those worms make some castings. If you utilize chickens in your garden, let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.